Hello friends, welcome to my channel, a channel for learning simple coding. If you find this video to be helpful, please like, share and subscribe my channel. In last class we have learned how to use string data type in Rust and what is the difference between string literals and object in Rust. In this video we are going to understand most important part of Rust programming language is memory management of a variable in Rust. Remember that in other languages we have a garbage collection. In Java we have automatic garbage collection. In C and C++ we have a manual garbage collection. But here in Rust we do not have such kind of system. We have a ownership system. Remember that it's a very easy and useful also, but it's very tricky because doing the coding of Rust we face this problem every time whenever we do such kind of things. But we don't understand. If we don't understand the ownership, then we would not be able to resolve the error that will come in a program. So we see what is ownership here. Remember that. What is ownership and move ownership in Rust? Clone ownership and copy data. What is the difference in these? We have to understand. First of all, we have to understand the ownership. Ownership is you can say set of rules to manage the memory management of a variable in Rust. Remember that. Ownership, once again I am explaining you that ownership is a memory management rules and regulation for a variable. How variable memory will be managed by a Rust, that is called ownership. Remember that. So there are three things here to understand this for memory management using ownership. What we have to understand that we are going to do here with the help of practical example. So I create one more application. I say cargo, I say new, I say class number 20, I say ownership. This application created, then I goes under this application like this and I open again this first file, and here I give you demo for this, the ownership. So for that we have to understand, suppose I create here a variable of a string type. I say name and I say that is of a string type, and I say the value of this is form, and I say Dr. Vipin classes. Remember, this is the value in this variable. It's a simple one, nothing special here. Now if I create one more variable, I say another name, or I say a name, or I say name1 for example, and I transfer this name here. Remember that here I print the information. I say println and I print the value of name. I say name equal to like this, and I say name, nothing special. Once again after this I do the same. I print this name here, or I say name1 like this. It's a very simple program, nothing special. I say cargo run, and you will see that we have the problem string function associated with this. Okay, not a form, it is from. Spelling mistake by my side. Again I execute and you will see that it's a very simple, and I say here name1. Remember, name1 equal to this and name equal to this. No error, nothing special. Now once again I try to display name also here, you see, and I say once again I display name. Once again I run it. Now you see the error. Error is, you see that value move here, you see it's a one thing, move ownership. Remember that move ownership, I am going to make you understand. So move value move here, again you are going to borrow the information, borrowing here after move. Remember that the topic of this video is copy ownership and copy data, the difference between these. So here the problem is that this is a normal program in other languages, but in Rust it's a problem. Why? Because the memory management of Rust tell that once you pass the value of a variable in another variable, we called it move ownership. Remember, move ownership. Remember, once you move the ownership of a variable name to name1, then you can't reuse it. Remember that here this name does not have access to the data it store. Remember, so it does not have access to the data it store. The name does not have access to data it store, means it's a store Dr. Vipin classes string variable. But remember that this access is not to this because it's a memory management rules and regulation of Rust language. Once you pass the value of a variable into this separate variable, then this variable have the ownership. Only this variable can use this value, and this value would not have a access to its own value. Remember that in Rust only one variable may have access to a particular data at a one time. Two variable can't have the ownership on a same data. That is the problem. So we are moving the ownership. This is a move ownership. Remember that. Solution of this is you have to make a clone of it. Do remember that you have to make a clone. So it's a move ownership. First thing here, once the ownership is moved, then the same variable would not access this. Remember that this is not a valid line here. We have to make it comment. Now program will run automatically, you see. But once I uncomment this, then we have a same error, and this error is also explaining something. It's saying that you are moving ownership, you have to make a clone. This means you should not move ownership. If you want to use it, you have to clone your ownership. Remember that. So there is a difference between move ownership and clone ownership. Clone ownership means we have to create a separate variable that have a same value. That means we will have a name and name1, both will separate variable that will point to separate memory location. Now name and name1 both are pointing to same memory location, but in Rust only one variable can have access to the one memory location. Remember that these two variables at same time can't point to one memory location. This is the problem, like this. So we have a clone method. So I make it comment here because it's a move ownership. But if I change the code, I say name1 equal to name dot clone. Remember, because it's a string function, I say this is clone. So this is called clone ownership. Clone ownership. Remember, in clone ownership means we are creating a separate variable name1 that is not linked with this. This name1 is separate, name is separate. So I try to execute it once again, and you see we have a output. If I change the value of name, suppose I say name equal to, again I change the value of name, I say Dr. Vipin Tevatia, like this I change the value. And if I change the value of name1 also, I change it. Suppose I say name1 equal to string from, and I say Dr. Vipin Kumar, for example. So you will see that both the value would change. And again, and because it's not a mutable, so I have to put mute keyword also. That is this another problem in Rust. So I say mute, you see. Now again, first of all, in name we have Dr. Vipin classes, then in name1 I have Dr. Vipin Kumar, then in another value change we have Dr. Vipin Tevatia. So we have changed this. So that means if I'm changing a value in name, doesn't affect the name1 because both are separate variables. So that is called cloning. So you can copy the value from this to this and you can make a clone of it. So if you directly pass the value, it is called move ownership. Remember that. One more thing I want to explain you. This kind of error comes only when we use the memory management under heap. This string store information under heap. So this kind of problems come. If you use structure and vector also, then you will have a same problem because those memory location is heap. But if the memory location is not a heap, the memory location is a stack. So all the scalar variable means integer, float, all these type of variables use information in a stack. Means the information of these scalar variables stored under the stack. That problem would not come. You see the example, I just comment all these things, and again I do the same thing with integer variable. I say here value equal to, I say 10. So this is an integer kind of variable, and if I print this information, you will see that it would not happen with this. So I say value equal to, or I say variable name is num. That is okay to understand. So I say num equal to, and I display this num here. Again I create one more variable. I say num1, and I pass this value to num. And remember that if I do copy of this and I say num1 here, you see it's okay. If I compile it once again, you will see that we have a num and num1. And again if I want to use num variable, so this error would not come under this. You see, no problem at all. Why? Because if the data is numerical or scalar value, means remember that we have a scalar and compound data type. So if scalar data type is there, that means this scalar data type information is stored under the stack. Remember that we have two types of memory. First is a stack and second is heap. So if the information is stored under the stack, then automatically it do copy data. Remember that third information is copy data. So if the memory location is stack, means it's in a same memory location in a stack with scalar data, then it automatically make a copy of information. So num is copied to this, and these two have a separate memory location and separate information. You can change any value. Suppose num1, after storation of num1 I say it is to 20, so it will change and it would not affect the other variable, but we have to make it mutable also, then it is possible, otherwise not. So I make it mutable, and you see that we have changed to num1. Remember that this num1 is have a separate memory location, just we are making copy of this. It is only possible if the memory storage or memory management is happening in a stack. Remember that. If the memory management is happening in heap, then this move ownership and clone technique will work. Remember that. And if you are moving the information from stack to heap, then also remember that. If you are moving your data from integer to string, and then you are using that, so string also store in only in heap, then it will also do the same thing. Remember that. This is most important part to understand. So in this video we have understand the ownership mechanism, memory management mechanism in Rust programming language, and what is the difference between move ownership, clone ownership and copy data in Rust. Remember that. It's the most important video, most important part of Rust programming language. If you understand it, please do subscribe. Thank you for watching this video.